Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be testing Battlefield 5 Open Beta on the GeForce GTX 1060, 3GB. I'll be doing 1080p, 1440p and 4K. To skip down those sections of the video, check the timestamps down in the description. So first of all, I'll show you 1080p targeting 60 frames per second using the i5-8400, and in order to do so, I had to tweak the settings a little bit. Textures will be on high across the whole video due to the amount of VRAM available. At 4K I had to lower the textures to medium, but on 1080p on this section I had to lower lighting effects and post-process quality to high in order to stay more consistently close to 60 frames per second compared to the maximum settings. After that I show you the maximum settings except in textures once again, and then at 1440p I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll show you a configuration targeting 50 to 60 frames per second, and then I just crank up the settings to the max to see what frame rate we get. And finally at 4K I overclocked the GTX 1060, I added 400 MHz to the memory clock, and I managed to get the core clock to around 2 GHz. And unfortunately it's impossible to maintain 60 frames per second even using the lowest settings, so I tried to be over 30 frames per second with a little higher settings than the minimum, which means that I cranked up mesh, terrain and undergrowth quality to medium, and of course the textures to medium as well, because on high we were going over the VRAM limit very easily, and we save pretty much over 30 frames per second all the time. So my recommendation here is to stick to 1080p with good visuals at 60 frames per second, and after that I switched to the i3-8100, and in this case I'm using the 60 frames per second 1080p configuration I show you at the start of the video, so you can have an idea on what's going on. And compared to the i5, the i3 has higher CPU usage. Of course it has 4 cores instead of 6 on the i5, so yeah, it's not perfect. There are some drops in the GPU usage every now and then, some extra stutter, but with the i3 we're not getting unplayable frame rates by any means. Remember, this is a beta, so the final game should be different. That's why in this video I won't be doing much analysis on the options menu. I'll just tell you what options gave me the best performance by lowering them, and after that I'll talk to you about CPUs. So lighting effects and post-process quality, those options were the ones that gave me the biggest performance hit. I recommend lowering them in groups. Then ambient occlusion is also a performance hit. If you turn it off, you should be getting a lower hit on the GPU. And then the other options I didn't mention, like terrain, undergrowth and mesh quality, I recommend lowering them in groups as well. But 1 or 2 options above the lighting effects and post-process quality that you selected. Those were the ways that I got to get the best results, and I recommend using DirectX 11. DirectX 12 is a stuttery mess right now. So far this game is very CPU intensive. In order to get consistent frame rates very close to 60, you need at least a quad-core CPU. I played using an i3-8100, G4560 and i5-8400, and so far the i3-8100 was enough to maintain 60 frames per second most of the time, with some drops every now and then when there are a lot of explosions on screen. It usually stays over 50 frames per second, so yeah, it's a very decent experience, at least in my opinion. Then with the G4560, which is a 2-core 4-thread CPU, the game runs significantly worse. So be aware of that if you have a dual core with hyperthreading, since I got drops into the 30s, sometimes below 30 frames per second, and with the i5-8400 I was able to maintain 60 frames per second much more consistently than the i3. So yeah, we get more cores there, which helps in this case. And it's also important to have more than 8GB of system RAM. The game was over 8GB of usage all the time, with all the systems I tested. It sometimes hit 9GB, so yeah, my recommendation here, have more than 8GB of RAM and in dual channel. That in this game is very important, just like on Battlefield 1. But yeah, expect a video once this game fully releases with more details and all the usual stuff. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Ich habe Medikamente für dich. Ich werfe eine Rauchgranate. Rauchgranate geworfen.
We have lost objective Emil.
Back here! Vorsicht!
Objective Dora is now our soldiers. Good work. Objective Emil is now ours.
Rauchgranate kommt! Mit besten Grüßen!
We have now taken Objective Anton. Attention, we are losing Objective Taser. We have taken Objective Beta. Alert, we have lost Objective Anton.
Rauchgranate!
Explosives all set.
Good job, we have taken Objective Baker.
Take the game, team soldiers. to the fray. That's a grenade!
Fine work. Objective dog is ours.
On the objective now! I owe ya! Rigging explosives! Charges set.
The enemy are taking objective Able.
Rigging explosives!
Good seeing ya.
Throwing grenade!
Well done. We have taken objective Charlie. We are now losing objective Charlie.
There! More first aid!
Thanking you.
Yeah, I'll fix you. Oh, brother! More first aid! Get packed!
Objective Baker is being lost.
Ich bin getroffen! Hilf mir!
Objective Dora is ours.
Versuch mit der Granate!
Objective Caesar has been lost.
Ich berette hier gleich! Sanitäter!
Ich sterbe! Bitte, helft mir! Leg mich von mir!